Fantastic.
We'll go with it. Well, let's get off that show. 2003 show then happened, and it was a really bold move, I gotta say, because what they did is they based it off the original comic book. Most of those storylines up until fast forward was stories you could read from the original books, and they were very serious all the time. And I think with every iteration of the Turtles, they focus on one turtle in particular. Like the goofy 1980s ones was more Michelangelo's show more than anyone else's, even though Raphael was the funniest. 2003 was Leo's show, the whole way through. You had angry, chain-smoking Raphael. You gotta talk like this all the time. Hey Leo! I'm a teenager! Donnie was a nerd, and Michelangelo popped off pop culture references vaguely so they wouldn't get sued. And then Leonardo was, the plain boring leader as always, but you followed his story. It wasn't anyone else's show. They'd have one-offs of theirs, but the overarching story was watching Leo becoming comfortable as a leader, dealing with his, with his faults, his responsibilities, and coming to terms with being in charge of his brothers and fighting a very vicious Shredder this time around. And it was really cool. I loved watching that progression. And you got to see him. He surpassed Splinter at some point, and he had to deal with failure and had to deal with that rage. For a season, he was as angry as Raphael the whole time, and then he beat the crap out of Splinter. Like, when are you going to teach me something? No! And then they sent him off to a fat little racist stereotype, and he Luke Skywalker, yes. He Star Wars his way, hero's journey.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a good show.
Okay.
So is that what you grew up with then?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Diego.
Diego. Nice to meet you. Dig the Goku shirt.
Thank you.
Assume it's Goku.
It is Goku.
It's turtle training all the same. Doesn't matter. But
Hate you.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I know. I watched it too.
So that's what you grew up with? Was that show?
Yeah.
What was your favorite portion of that particular show? Like, what stood out to you there? Like the future season, where they were in the future?
I think it was just the beginning, like where they were just fighting random crap.
Just fighting everything all the time. Yeah, that was a very hardcore show for the time being. And they made very small hints of the 1980s show, but they were very clearly trying to stay away.
What was that on Cartoon Network?
No, that was
That was Fox, wasn't it?
that was Fox. They had this little promotion called Fox, and I was in a this is 2003, so I'm junior in high school in a Toys R Us, and I saw this ad for Ninja Turtles. Like, oh my God, they're back! I'm excited, and I watched every episode of that show.
Side note, so when Fox first started showing cartoons, their slogan was Fox Kids Rocks. And my little brother was he is 7 years younger than me, and he had trouble, getting sentences together. So he would always say Fox Kids sucks, and it was amazing.
They didn't keep the Fox box around for multiple
I don't even
reasons.
think Fox does cartoons anymore.
I have no idea. I guess this is close to a Saturday morning cartoon. I guess we can get it. It is Saturday morning.
And we are a cartoon.
Cowabunga.
Let's talk about the movies.
We're gonna get to the movies almost.
I
We have
wanna
one
do
more
it
thing.
now.
One more thing. So, fans of 2003 show, fans of 1980 show. How many of you guys seen Turtles Forever?
Oh, is that the movie where they mix the? Yeah, I've seen it.
So, what do you think of it?
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, there you go. It was awesome. So, Turtles Forever, when they canceled the 2003 show, which ran about as long as the original show, I'm pretty sure, they combined them both. They brought the 1980s Turtles back and did a crossover movie with them. Had hits or misses. They didn't have the original voice actors due to 4Kids union stuff. They had to use their own voice actors. They're not allowed to bring outside help, which is a shame because most of them are really bad. And then, spoiler alert, they eventually go into the original comic book universe, where they're just angry as hell all the time, and it was great.
Raph doesn't even talk, he just grunts.
Yeah. So I guess the whole point of that was to show just how silly the original show was. The original Turtles were a bit too silly, but it was still a fun ride the whole way through. A bunch of nods to everyone who's ever follow that series the whole way through like we did, I did. just
Yeah, I
me.
did.
You saw it too, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What do you think of it?
Forever?
Yeah.
It was good. I really liked it.
They kept making jokes to you just bringing it so much to the podcast.
Oh, it was okay.
It was. I don't know. It was fun. It was.
Well, you didn't watch any of the 2003 show though, did you?
Yeah, I watched some of those.
A little bit?
I watched. Yeah, a little bit.
Just a little bit.
They got kind of goofy towards the end.
They did. Went to the future and sang
And
about
turned
it.
into dragons and stuff.
They did turn into dragons. Turtles in space! That was their third
Meanwhile, in space.
That was Power, side note again, that was a Power Ranger season.
Yes,
and that's how they
I know.
opened the thing is Rangers in space! And then they did the theme song. And they did that.
That was Eo, sorry.
Spandex in space. It was good times. So yeah, that was really good. And then that was kind of a nice closing for the cartoons. And then Nickelodeon bought it. And we'll get into that stuff later afterwards. So, movies.
Yay! Cool!
How many of you guys seen the movies, original ones?
I see the first one.
Yeah.
Just the first one?
Yeah.
You're set.
Yeah.
How many have you seen?
All three.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I saw the third one.
Thank you. We're definitely gonna get into that
We're
too.
gonna get into that one. We're gonna get into that one. Our good friend, what's your name back, sir?
Mark.
Mark, have you seen any of the original movies? That is a terrible shame, guys. All right, so we'll just brief synopsis of the movies. It was 1990, wasn't
Yes,
it?
1990. was the first one.
1990. So this is a year or two after the cartoons already started,
Mhm.
and
That's quick, honestly.
yeah, it was. Most people don't know what the comic book is. Nobody really, unless you're part of the indie underground scene at that point, you have no idea what this is. What you are is a little kid who is a big fan of these stupid, goofy, bubbly-looking turtle people on the screen making jokes and throwing trash cans at things. Then comes this movie, and there's no Technodrome, there's no Krang, there's no Bebop and Rocksteady. There's just a lot of dark, gritty anger everywhere.
Yeah, it's definitely more based off the comic than the TV show.
And I loved
It
it.
is fantastic.
It was so good.
You had the Jim Henson Creature Shop did all the animatronics, and so they looked really good.
Mhm.
Not so good in HD because you can see zippers and whatnot now. So
Yeah, but for the time, they looked real.
and actually,
Really
they
weird.
still look pretty good if you ignore the zippers.
Or the
This-
faces and the.
The faces are
Diamonds
faced
all
in.
over.
Oh.
So, but the story is great. I mean, the Shredder reveal, that's awesome.
Yeah, Darth Vader 2.0.
Yeah.
With
It's
even
a-
more glittering clan. Like his purple cape.
But yeah, I mean, I can't say, if I were a film critic, I wouldn't say, oh, this is a masterpiece, because it's not.
No.
But as far as, a sit down and enjoy the movie, like, there's not really any loopholes, and the action is, I mean, you gotta think there's these 4 men dressed in 50-pound turtle suits, and they're pulling off karate moves. It's pretty cool, and
Yeah.
it looks really good. And the story, you care about the characters, and it's great. It's a really good flick to watch, and I would highly recommend it.
That particular movie did what the franchise, I think, is why the franchise survived as long as it has. You take this silly concept and you make the best of it. You do everything you can with this ridiculous nonsense. So you take these turtles, you throw them into ooze, and you turn them into man people, and make a story out of them. And they did. They took the best parts of the cartoon, which was the personalities, which the comic didn't have. And then it took the darker, grittier storyline of the comics and merged them together. And when you tell a good enough story and you have good enough characters, doesn't matter what you're using as the basis. You take a turtle and you put a mask on him, and if he's as charming as Michelangelo is, you forget he's a turtle. You forget that's a man in a suit. You just know that's Michelangelo on the screen cracking jokes. You know that's an angry Raphael, angry dancing his rage away on the roof. And you put that to 80s music, and it's the funniest thing you'll ever see in your life. And you make a really good movie. And for what it is, it still holds up. Not Star Wars holds up, but it holds up really well. Mike Chapman.
Yeah.
Glad you're here, Mike.
Yeah.
No, I liked the first one. I really liked the Casey Jones in it too.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was, they had quinoa or.
Jose Canseco back. Tell me you didn't pay money for this.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So, should we talk about Vanilla Ice and Turtles 2?
We're gonna get to that in a minute. Is there anything else you want to
Well, I
share? with
remember when I actually just watched the movie a couple days ago with my roommate, and I told him that part where that kid in the Foot Clan who was originally supposed to die, and they took that off. I told my friend or my buddy about that, and then we get to the very end of the movie, and then they throw Shredder into a
Yeah,
dump
trash
truck, and then
can.
or the trash. Yeah, and squishes him. He's like, "Oh, that's not dark though."
Well, he's a bad guy.
It's fine. He's wearing a mask. It doesn't matter. Kids think he's a robot. It's fine. It's fine.
It's more machine now than man. Twisted and evil.
Gotta stop quoting other things.
That's what Turtles
That makes
does.
Casey Jones a murderer. With a oops, he murdered.
No,
a
it was an
man.
accident. He said,
Why do you
oops.
think he killed the guy?
Don't worry about it.
Well, they did kind of switch over creative teams for that next movie.
So, okay. So yeah, dark gritty first movie, and parents are like, oh, my kids love the cartoon, and they love all these toys, and then, yeah, they watch Casey Jones murder Shredder at the end of the movie and go, oh, I just took my kid to that.
It was so dark and violent, like the whole what made the bread and butter for the Ninja Turtles at the time were those action figures. And Playmates said we were not making action figures for this violent mess of a movie. Jim Henson didn't like the movie. He regretted working on it because it was so violent.
So, yeah.
And it's not really that violent, it just implies violence. You put that tone in there, you have a particular, attitude and tension, and it just seems more violent than it is. And then you punch a lady in the face in the subway, and then yes, it's also that violent too.
Yeah.
So there you go. Then Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of Ooze.
So,
Yeah.
Best
friendly.
opening scene ever.
For us kids, and they knew what they were doing.
so instead of fighting with swords and scythes and nunchucks, yo-yos, a Nerf sword.
Sausage.
Sausages.
Yeah, combat cold cuts.
A donut. A clown balloon.
Yeah.
And then the mad sick beats of Vanilla Ice and fire extinguishers.
Yeah.
So that's what they
Has anyone heard Go Ninja, Go by Vanilla Ice? Yeah.
in the back there. A little bit.
Yo, it's a green machine.
Don't do that,
Around
man.
town without being seen. Have you ever seen a turtle get down?
Stop that. Stop that. Gotta stop doing that. You can find Vanilla Ice doing commercials for Mac and Cheese Ninja Turtles where he's stalking a shelf.